There is a type of intelligence that never shows up on a test. It doesn't look like top grades, it doesn't sound like a big vocabulary, and it definitely doesn't announce itself at a dinner party. It operates in the background, silent, precise, invisible to almost everyone, including the person who has it. Psychologists have been studying this for years. They've found a specific pattern in people who seem to understand the world on a level most others simply can't access. People who read between the lines without trying, who sense things before they happen, who see what's hidden underneath what's said. They call it shadow intelligence. And here's what makes it strange. Most people who have it don't know they have it, because it doesn't feel like intelligence. It feels like a burden. If you've ever been called too sensitive, too analytical, too intense, if your mind never fully switches off, if you feel things in rooms that other people walk through completely unaware, you've probably spent years wondering if something is wrong with you. The world rewards a very specific kind of smart. Loud, confident, credentialed smart. Shadow intelligence is none of those things. So the people who carry it often go unseen, underestimated, sometimes even by themselves. But this isn't about IQ. It's not about grades or status or how fast you can solve a math problem. Shadow intelligence is something different. It's the ability to perceive what most people filter out, to process the emotional architecture of a room, to understand human behavior at a depth that most people never reach, because most people never had to. In this video, we're going to walk through 10 specific signs that you carry this form of intelligence. Each one is backed by psychological research. Each one will feel uncomfortably familiar if it applies to you. Stay until sign number 7. That one surprises people the most because it looks like a weakness from the outside, but psychologists say it's one of the rarest cognitive traits on the planet. You walk into a space and something shifts inside you before a single word is spoken. A tension in someone's posture, a forced smile, a silence that feels slightly too long. Most people miss these entirely. You don't. You register them automatically, instantly, without deciding to. This isn't intuition in any mystical sense. It's pattern recognition operating at high speed. Your brain was trained to scan for emotional data, and it never stopped. Someone tells you they're fine. You don't believe them, not because you're cynical, but because something in their energy doesn't match their words. You pick up the gap between what people express and what they actually feel, and that gap speaks to you louder than the words do. Psychologists call this hyperempathy. It's the ability to feel into another person's emotional state before they've even processed it themselves. Most people have to be told how someone feels. You already know. When everything around you falls apart, something inside you goes quiet and sharp. While others freeze or panic, you assess. You identify the fastest path through. You act with a calm that can look almost cold to people watching from the outside. Researchers describe this as stress inoculation, a nervous system that has been calibrated by high-stakes experiences until high stakes become its natural state. Chaos doesn't disable you, it activates you. You replay conversations. You notice the detail everyone else missed. You find yourself building psychological models of people. Why they did that, what they really meant, what they're likely to do next. This isn't overthinking. It's a mind that was forged by the need to understand people deeply, because understanding people felt essential. You became a student of human nature, not by choice, but because it was necessary. Rules, traditions, social norms, expectations, you don't take them at face value. You need to understand the logic. You need to see the reason behind the structure. This makes you a natural innovator. It also makes you difficult to control. You don't rebel for the sake of rebelling. You simply refuse to believe something just because you were told to. That refusal to accept surface-level answers is one of the defining marks of a shadow intelligence mind. You solve problems quietly, independently, without announcing it. Self-reliance at this level doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from a brain that learned early that waiting for rescue wasn't a reliable strategy. So it internalized competence. It made independence the default. You don't need validation to move forward. You figure it out, and then you move. Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second, and drop your answer in the comments. Which of these signs hits closest to home for you? Because what I'm about to share next is where shadow intelligence gets genuinely strange. Music doesn't just sound good to you. It moves something deep inside you. Injustice doesn't just bother you. It sits in your body. A stranger's small act of kindness can genuinely stop you in your tracks. This emotional depth isn't weakness. It's the amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, operating at a heightened sensitivity. The result is a person who doesn't just observe the world, they absorb it. The cost is that you carry more than most. The gift is that you experience more than most ever will. You don't trust quickly, and most people don't understand why. Cognitive psychologists call this adaptive skepticism, a filtering system built by a brain that learned early that not every signal of safety was real. Your filters are tighter than average, which means most people never fully get in. But the ones who do, they get something rare, a loyalty that doesn't waver, a connection built on something real. When things go quiet, your mind doesn't rest. It turns inward, and not always gently. This is the nervous system doing exactly what it was conditioned to do. Stay alert. Keep scanning. Don't let the guard down. The irony is that the very sharpness shadow intelligence creates makes it hard to switch off. Learning to be still, genuinely still, is one of the hardest things for a mind like yours. But it's also the most important. You don't move through life casually. You've looked closely at pain, your own and other people's, and something in you has refused to let it be meaningless. Psychologists studying post-traumatic growth have found something consistent. People who navigate real adversity often emerge with a philosophical clarity that others simply don't develop. They understand what matters and why. That quiet certainty, that deep sense of purpose, isn't something you can learn from a book. It was built by living. There's a well-documented pattern in the lives of some of history's most perceptive thinkers: Carl Jung, Viktor Frankl, Maya Angelou. None of them described their intelligence as a gift they were born with. They described it as something they developed in the dark, in the difficult years, in the moments that had no easy answer. Shadow intelligence doesn't come from comfort, it comes from depth. Most people will never know they carry this. They'll spend their lives wondering why they feel so different, why the world seems louder to them, why they see things others walk past without blinking. But now you know what it actually is. The question isn't whether you have it. The question is what you're going to do with it.